Hey guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you guys are listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. And of course, if you guys want to support me further, you can do that by going to my Patreon site. The link is in the description below. And you can give me $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever you prefer. In this video, I wanted to speak to you guys about a question that Kirsten Rohr. She's an INFJ from Germany. She's 24 years old, and she found me through my podcast, the INFJ Whisperer. And she asked me a question about decisions and decision making in general. And I thought it was such an interesting question because, she had a long thing, a spiel that she said, so I'm not going to repeat exactly what she said. But she basically asked me about how sometimes it's very difficult for her to make a decision. For example, if she's going to a coffee shop with a friend, usually people will ask us to make decisions on where to go because we tend to make decisions pretty quickly because we have very specific things that we want from from coffee shops or from restaurants or things like that. But sometimes when people are relying on her like that to make the decision, she has a really hard time making the decision. And it's such an interesting conundrum of an INFJ, as I believe we are sort of people pleasers, especially in our 20s. I think in our teens, in our 20s, we are particularly interested in people pleasing or making sure that the people around us are happy because we're still trying to figure out who we are and we're still unsure of ourselves and we're still learning about ourselves, growing, etc. And so I remember myself in my 20s and especially at 24, and I was especially a people pleaser then, and specifically with my friends, because I was so afraid of, at that point, of losing all my friends and not having any friends because it took me such a long time to figure out how to make friends. And so once I had them, I was like, oh my God, I want to just keep them. I don't want to lose my friends. And so I would do anything to make them happy. I would do anything to make sure that they didn't leave me, right? Now, of course, nowadays, it's a completely different story. But in the past, that's how I was, and that's how a lot of INFJs are. And it's nothing to say that's a bad thing or a good thing or a terrible thing. It's just one, as I said, one of the phases. I've said this many times to you guys. It's just one of the phases in our life. So we go through many phases in our life as an INFJ, as a human being. And one of the phases that INFJs go through in their teens and 20s is this people-pleasing tendency. When we're making a decision for ourselves, when we have nothing else involved with it, no other person involved with it, it's just us, and we're making a decision for ourselves. I need to go to a restaurant to eat. If we're making a decision for ourselves, boom. Just like that, we're able to make a decision because we have a long list of things that we want from a restaurant. It has to be quiet, it has to have a nice atmosphere. For me, it has to have vegetarian food, it has to have spicy food, etc., etc. So I have a long list of things, but I know the restaurants that kind of meet that criteria, and I'll do my research and I'll be able to make a decision very quickly. Recently, I decided to help out my friend who organizes weekly dinners for a bunch of people. Now, of course, because there are a bunch of other people involved, if it was just me, I would just make a decision just like that. No problem, just like that. But because there's a bunch of other people involved, and it's not the people-pleasing tendency necessarily, but to make sure that people are happy, and I'm doing this as a favor to my friends, so I don't want to do a haphazard, a shoddy job of it. So I ask people for their opinion, where do you guys want to go for dinner? And of course, that's always a landmine, right? Like, it's just not a good idea to ask a bunch of people what they want. Not only because different people have different opinions, but also people don't want to make a decision. They're like, oh, we can just go here, or you can just make a decision on your own. And they're really like, it's not a good idea in general to ask other people to make decisions because most people have no idea what they want. Most people have no idea what they want in their life, but also in smaller things. Where do you want to go? I don't know. You make the decision. So a lot of times nowadays, I actually don't ask people for opinions. If I'm going to go out for dinner with a friend, I'll suggest the place. I'll just suggest the place that I want to go to. And if they don't want to go there, then I'll be like, all right, you make the decision because I've suggested one place and you don't want to go there, so you make the decision. We'll go wherever you want, kind of thing, right? But in most cases, because most people don't want to make decisions in general, they just are not I don't know what it is. I feel like people, maybe it's a people pleasing tendency, or maybe it's the fact that we have such a huge amount of choices now that people just don't want to make a choice anymore. They just don't want to be like, all right, let's go here. Because maybe it comes across as too pushy or too confident. I have no idea what it is. Most people don't want to do that. So it works out really well for me because I have no issues making a decision and saying, this is where I want to go, right? And it's because I have, especially for me, my food needs, because mostly I'm just going to restaurants, my food needs are very specific. I literally cannot go to a place which has bland food or untasty food. And there's a lot of places like that with really bland food. And I think to myself, there's no way I'm spending money on this kind of food. And so as soon as that happens, I'm like, no, we're not going there. I don't like that place. And there's a bunch of conversations I've had with people. They're like, all right, let's go here. I'm like, no, I don't like that place. They're like, all right, cool. Where do you want to go? And so it'll take a little bit of time, Kirsten. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. It'll take you a little bit of time to get into that mode of things. Because first of all, probably right now, you have a good idea of what you like and what you don't like in regards to coffee shops, restaurants, and other things, other decision-making criterias. But because you're still in your stage of life where you're still trying to ensure that the people around you are happy and that they are pleased as well, as much as you, it'll take you a little bit of time to make decisions. And don't worry about that too much. I always realize that most people have no idea what they want. INFJs know what they want because we have a long list, as I said, of things that we want to do, things that we like, blah, blah, blah. We have lists in our head. And so INFJs know, but most people don't know. And when we are trying to be like, oh, but what do you want to do? Basically, people don't have a clue of what they want to do, right? So it is our responsibility, I think of it as my responsibility as an INFJ of the group to make the decision for people. Now, of course, I'll make a decision sometimes and people are like, no, I don't like that. I'm like, cool. I made a decision. You don't like it. Let's go for something that you like. I am not attached to my decisions at all, because it doesn't really matter to me. That's one time, one restaurant, one coffee shop that we go to. And I have, hopefully, a long time on this planet where I can go to other restaurants, other coffee shops and all that. So I'm not really attached to it. Recently, I went on a lunch date with a person and he suggested we go to this one particular place. I was like, no, I don't like that place. It's only salads and it's disgusting and it's bland. I don't like it. I don't want to go there. Let's go somewhere else. And so I just suggested a couple of places. He didn't like those. And then he suggested another place. And I was like, all right, it's not a top priority for me to go there, but it's okay. I can go there. I don't mind it. So I was like, cool, let's go there. And so that's how our decision making goes. Mostly for me in my life right now, I have, as I said, very limited time, very limited energy, and very limited patience in general to deal with things that I don't like. So if I don't like something and you really want to go there, I'll be like, all right, you go. I'm not coming to this event, to this particular event, right? Or if I go, then I just won't eat. I'll just eat beforehand and then I'll go to a restaurant. Especially if it's a restaurant, people that I really don't like and it has bland food, I'll just eat beforehand. And I've done that in the past where I'll eat my delicious spicy food and then I'll go to a restaurant and meet up with friends and I'll just have a drink or some soda water or, an appetizer or something like that, something simple. Or I'll just avoid eating completely because I just don't want to support restaurants or places that have bland food. It's one of my things. If you're going to make crappy food, I just don't want to support you. It's a big thing for me. Even though I spend very little time thinking about food, when I do think about food, I really want good food. I'm a major foodie in that regard, but only at times when I have space and brain space to think about it. So I think that's how our decision-making process works. And so if you are confused about your decision-making process, I think that's part of it, part and parcel of it, a little bit of it. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you're still learning and growing and just basically learning about yourself. What do I like? What don't I like? What do I want to do with my life? What don't I want to do? And so little by little, the more you learn about yourself, the better your decision-making skills will become, right? And so at 24, you're still such a newbie. I mean, you're such a noob at it. Like, you're still learning. And so don't worry about it at all. You got loads of time to figure out what you want from your life, how you want to live your life, what do you want to focus on, what do you like, what don't you like. And then the more confident you become, the more confident you'll become at suggesting things. And you'll be like, yeah, this is where I want to go. And because you'll be so confident at it, people will be like, all right, cool. Because most people have no idea or are not as confident as you in that regard. and then they'll just follow you around, and that's fine. And if they don't, and they're like, no, I don't like that place, I want to go somewhere else, you'll be like, cool, you suggest a place now. And that's how it goes mostly for me. Mostly, I'll suggest something and people will be like, all right, let's go there. And sometimes, rarely, occasionally, people are like, no, I really don't like that place. Can we go somewhere else? I'm like, all right, yeah, cool. It's your decision. Now you can suggest something. I already suggested something. The ball's in your court, right? I hope this makes sense. I know it's such a small thing, but as I said, our time is so precious to us. My time is so precious to me, and I'm not spending it doing things or going to places that I really don't like. So it's very important to me to make my voice heard. I want to make sure that I go to the places that I want to go to and not to the places that I hate or despise or are not interested in. I hope, again, this makes sense. Kristen, I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you again for listening to my podcast, The INFJ Whisperer. And if you guys are interested in supporting me further, you can do that by going to my Patreon site. The link is in the description below. And I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.